There seems to be a common belief that awakening occurs as something instantaneous, and that is, one wakes up very suddenly and that's it. And from that moment onward, you are completely and fully awake. And I don't want to discount that this may be how it occurs for some, but it's been my observation, which also includes my own experience, that for most of us, awakening is something that occurs gradually over time. It may unfold over an entire lifetime, or perhaps over many lifetimes. Now, it may begin with some sudden awakening experience in which one's perception shifts dramatically, but often this is only the initiation into awakening, which is to say we still have a ways to go. And in this process, we may experience all kinds of insights, breakthroughs, shifts, or transformations, and this can include any number of things. Healing emotional wounds, or resolving some negative tendency or thought pattern, releasing attachments, desires, expectations, letting go of all kinds of resistance, false beliefs, illusions. And whatever it happens to be, once we have faced it and gone into it, it may often appear to be fully resolved or fully released, and our whole quality of life changes. We may find ourselves less reactive, more content, more at peace, more joyful. But then somewhere along the way, later on down the road, we find ourselves once again confronted by it, confronted by this thing that we thought we had left behind, confronted perhaps by some situation that gives rise to an emotional reaction we thought we had resolved. And this experience can feel disorienting, confusing, discouraging. We might wonder if we had just been fooling ourselves this whole time, or maybe we've regressed, maybe we've lost our way entirely. But actually, this is all quite normal. You see, as it's been pointed out by others along the way, the journey is not always a straight line. Oftentimes, it is more like an upward spiral. And though we are moving in an upward direction, we are simultaneously moving in circles. And so it's not at all uncommon that we will sometimes find ourselves coming back around and revisiting old feelings, old attachments, old patterns of thought and behavior that still need some resolution. And we may have thought that we had resolved it. And this may in fact be true to some degree. In fact, we may have resolved a great portion of it, but perhaps not in its entirety. We may have resolved it just enough to give the illusion that it had been resolved entirely, but often it takes revisiting the same issue over and over again, resolving it bit by bit over the course of the journey. And what we might notice is that each time we come back to it, each time we are faced with it again, if we have actually been doing the work, that each time it gets a little easier, each time it becomes a little clearer, each time it may offer us some new lesson or a deeper understanding. And each time that issue, that reaction, that emotion, or whatever it happens to be, is weaker than the last and tends not to linger as long. So in the meantime, we just sit with it, we observe it, we look more deeply into it and release it a little more, and we go on with life. And once again, we might think that it's all done, that it's now behind us, and it would seem that way if we were moving in a straight line. But since we are moving in a spiral, we may find ourselves once again coming back around to confront it. And if we do, we just continue with the process. We revisit it as many times as is needed in order to resolve it, in order to learn from it, to grow from it, and to let it go. And eventually we do, but it may take many times, many confrontations. It all depends on our willingness to face it, how willing we are to learn from it and to move through it. And so I say all of this to offer some encouragement. Because when we find ourselves revisited by these old unresolved emotions and tendencies, it's very easy to feel discouraged by all of this, perhaps even ashamed. It's very easy to judge and condemn ourselves, or to feel some sense of defeat or despair. It's very easy to think that we have strayed from the path or fallen back a few steps or fallen down entirely, but actually it may be a sign that we are moving in the right direction. It's just that the direction may not be what we had imagined. If you find value in this content, be sure to like, share, and subscribe.